As a lifelong survival horror fan that was worried about Bloober Team after they released the medium many years ago, we're now in a time where they absolutely slam dunked with Silent Hill 2's remake, and they took their own stab at their own IP called Cronos: The New Dawn. After 18 hours of gameplay, I have finally beaten the game, and I have to say that I am very happy with my purchase. I am very happy this game exists, and I really am now a fan of Bloober in general. I think that there is a very big disconnect this time around again between the official reviewers and the actual core horror community that enjoys games like this. I am absolutely mind-boggled to see low scores from PC Gamer. Some people are giving it fair ones around 8, but PC Gamer gave it like a 56. I am just going to firmly start this off with that this is a game centered around a target audience of people that like survival horror games. Because apparently it is a sin in the year 2025 to actually have a target audience, because God forbid the game isn't made for absolutely everyone. This plays like something that was made by people who enjoyed survival horror games back in the day, saw all of the evolutions of survival horror games, and went and made their own game. So with that being said, it is a well-crafted game, and I am officially a fan of Bloober. After all these years of being worried about them, Silent Hill 2 definitely won me over and put them in my good graces, but this game has made me a fan of Bloober Team in general, and I look forward to all of their future titles. Now moving forward into the actual spoiler-free review of the game. This is a post-apocalyptic survival horror game that touches elements of sci-fi. You start the game off as a traveler commissioned to go into this post-apocalyptic world that has been completely and utterly wiped out by a disease that has wiped out supposedly all of humanity. However, we don't really know, because the game does take place in a fictional version of Poland, heavily influenced by the Soviet occupation between the 50s all the way up to the actual downfall of the Soviet Union. They did do a good job in trying to sell that you are in Poland throughout the entire game. All of the signage in the game is written in Polish, and if you aim at it, it will actually tell you what is written on there in English or in whatever language you are playing, which is really cool, and I think that that is something that I would like to see happen in more games. The only kind of feedback that I have about this is that it doesn't really give it to you for every little thing in the game, and I know that's a ton of work, but they were really selling the immersion here, being in Poland and reading Polish and seeing it all over the place, so it would be just that much more immersive if every little thing was properly translated, from tiny propaganda posters to little phrases on the ground. A lot of the game, I would say like maybe 60-70% of the game is translated, but just that 30% kind of really took me out, and it really made me wish it was there. But you can really tell that this game took inspiration from a ton of other survival horror games. We have elements from things like Dead Space, Silent Hill, and Resident Evil, and there's even some Silent Hill Easter eggs in the actual game, which were awesome, and I won't spoil that for you, but there is one Easter egg that'll probably go amiss unless you are an actual horror fan that knows a lot about the industry, and that's from their first game, The Medium. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I actually never beat it. There was no combat in it, and that's kind of what made me worry about Bloober Team, but overall it was really cool to see, like, within their own universe, that they were passionate and proud of everything that they've done so far, and I'll give them kudos there for sure. Now, when it comes to combat, this probably isn't going to be something that everyone writes home about and gives it glaring reviews for. It is very safe combat in terms of mechanics. It doesn't really revolutionize anything, and it does its job. There's stomping like you had in Dead Space, and with stomping being a dedicated button, there's also a dedicated button for punching enemies, and honestly, it's pretty cool. Unfortunately, punching doesn't really do a lot of damage. It's really good at finishing off enemies, though. It really does help when you're trying to open up boxes that are at like your upper chest level, so it is way more immersive than other games like Dead Space, where they could only really put lootable items over at your feet and you had to stomp on them, so I'll give them extra points there. That was pretty cool. However, the thing that is here to write home about when it comes to the actual mechanics with your weapons and with combat is that with your weapons, you get abilities where you can interact with the environment to bring back items or events from the past. So the best example I can give for this is, let's say in the present day, there's no road in front of you. There'll be a sphere up in the air that you can hit, and it's almost like a puzzle mechanic where you can activate the sphere and it will actually restore what the world looked like in the past when the road was there, and you can interact with it in much more engaging ways, like standing on a piece of steel that used to be suspended in the air and using it as a makeshift elevator, or solving like a puzzle where you have to go through a bunch of combat and you have to explore the environment to find the orbs to restore the world to where it needs to be in order for you to progress into the game. I personally think it's a really cool mechanic, and there is a ton of mechanics that the game kind of throws at you later in that I won't spoil, but when it comes down to like platform based puzzles, they did a really good job making that a core part of the game's identity, and I would not have it any other way. It is a ton of fun. It's great and engaging to see the environment change. It's great to be on the forefront of changing the environment. You can change things back and forth, and it's really rewarding when you change the environment in such a way that you feel like you kind of found a secret and you got a bunch of items that you would have missed if you had went through it just a little quicker. So this is definitely a game that rewards curiosity and exploration, and I love that. Like any other survival horror game, or at least the competent ones, a lot of the challenge in this game comes through inventory management and making sure that you are constantly equipped for the fight and you have enough ammunition on you, but you're keeping a balance between your guns, your key items, your side items that you can use to open up doors, your keys, your valuables that you can use to sell to vendors, ammo, equipment, and it goes really fast because I believe in the beginning of the game you have maybe 6 or 7 slots, so it's really not a thick inventory and it fills up very, very fast. Luckily though, there is a ton of ways to upgrade things through the upgrade stations. They are in the safe rooms, which have very nice jingles to them. They have very nice theme songs and they stay very consistent and they feel very safe away from all of the hecticness of the game. And in here you can go to upgrade stations to upgrade your guns with the money that you collect. You can store stuff in a stash, you can save your game, and you can also upgrade your equipment, inventory slots, and your health with something called cores, which you can use in the same upgrade station that you use to upgrade your weapons and buy stuff in the shop and sell items as well. Cores are a core component of upgrading your character. They are found around the world. They are found throughout the game. In those little side areas that I was talking about exploring, they are huge and you can use those to get more inventory slots, which is something I was constantly upgrading. You can get more max health. All of this stuff is really important when progressing through the game. And me being a veteran of survival horror games, I obviously went for the inventory space and the crafting materials, which is another thing I haven't even brought up. You can actually craft ammo on the go. You can craft equipment. You can craft health packs. There's a whole separate little inventory that you have where you can get chemicals, and you can also get, like, I believe it's steel, or actually my bad, it was like gears or something like that, but you can use that to build stuff, and there are hotkeys you can use to do it in the middle of combat. So that's another way to keep like a balance between the very strenuous inventory system and trying to have as much ammo as possible and experiment with all the guns at the same time. Speaking of those cores and all of those secrets, there are a very cute and cuddly and awesome secret in this game that are everywhere, and that is cats. The game is filled with cats. It's like the comic relief of the game, and I absolutely love it. You basically hunt down cats. They'll run like right across your screen and they'll go hide somewhere. You'll hear them meowing in a room, and you go and find them and you actually pet them and you bring them back to the hub world. Like, they go back to the hub world and you get rewards just for petting and finding these cats, which I thought was absolutely sick. It's a very empty, sad, dark world, and having the one little kitty cat meowing and purring is a really nice kind of juxtaposition from the actual game, and I love that. Now let's talk about the enemies. Now, the enemies aren't super original in their design, and they remind me a lot of like the molded enemies from Resident Evil 7. However, they have a really cool mechanic that reminds me of the Crimson Heads almost from Resident Evil 1 Remake. So basically, if an enemy is alive, let's say you have like 5 or 6 enemies in a combat zone, and you kill 3 of them and 3 of them are left. One of the enemies or two of the enemies at any given time can actually go up to the dead enemy's corpses and absorb them and actually grow stronger. So you can see how this could be a problem in a really big fight, and the enemies go through like phases. So the more corpses they pick up, the more stronger they get, and they can get to be very big problems when they get a bunch of corpses at once. So how do you deal with this? Well, simple. You light them on fire, just like you did in Resident Evil 1. Basically, you destroy the corpses by lighting them on fire with a torch. You only have a set amount of torch uses, or you can craft more torch uses, and you can get free ones from the safe room. You can have a max of one for free at any time, and that's how you use it. And it can also be used as like a stun effect on regular enemies too, or you can use it on an enemy that is currently absorbing an enemy, so you can both dissolve the body and stop them from growing any bigger and becoming even bigger of a problem. And the arenas in this game are actually very well thought out, and they are very fun. There are like exploding crates, there are like fuel canisters that'll set enemies on fire and give that stun effect. So there's a lot of fun to be had in the combat in the actual environment, and fire is kind of your friend in this game, and it's a big relief when you find a huge gas canister or something, because that can really be something that evens out fights when you are ridiculously outnumbered by all of the monsters. But overall, the real savior of the day of this game is the environments, and it's also the story of the game. I've always been able to tell, at least from when I played the medium, that Bloober was really close to creating an environmentally driven game. They seem to be driven by the older Silent Hill games that just told amazing stories and really immersed you into the environment and into the world through its environmental storytelling. Now, while Silent Hill obviously is the king of that, I can tell that Bloober is trying their absolute best to make their environments as inviting and as addicting as possible, and I fell into that trap. This game is confusing. When it comes to the story, it is great, but throughout the entire game, you are going to be very, very confused and lost. And that's exactly what you want in a horror game. That's exactly what you want in a survival horror game. So the environment itself is going to be a big driving factor in keeping you engaged with the game, and they did a stellar job when it comes to that. Instead of spelling everything out for you and holding your hand like a child, they put plenty of logs and material for you to actually read, and you can tell parallels between the actual environment that you are in compared to the thing you just read. Like, let's say somebody's quitting their job and you go into their office and look, they're packing up their office. Little things like this is environmental storytelling, and that is the kind of thing that Team Silent absolutely did amazing 20 plus years ago. So as far as the main game goes and the game itself, it really is a very nice complete package that is a ton of fun to play and a ton of fun to progress through, that really locks you into its narrative, its story, and its world. And Bloober really has a promising future if they stick to stuff like this, hopefully with Cronos being their own original IP that continues on in the future. Now, real quick, before I wrap this up in a bow and talk about my final closing thoughts on this, let's talk about the elephant in the room. It is an Unreal Engine 5 game. Unreal Engine 5 does not have any good reputation right now when it comes to performance. On consoles, I'm not very familiar with how it's running on consoles, but on PC, it is running very bad. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you guys. I am playing on a 5080 and a 9800 X3D. This is a multi-$1,000 computer, like $3,000+ computer. And I was barely getting 60 FPS at 1440p max settings. That's concerning. I had to have DLSS on in order to achieve 60 FPS. So performance, not great. If you have a lower end computer, if you have an 8GB graphics card, do not even bother. Buy this on a console, or wait until you have a better graphics card, or wait until there's more updates, because 8GB cards are just on their way out at this point. 12 to 16GB cards will be just fine, but that's for PC players. If you're not a PC player, you don't have to worry about that. Another thing, we'll talk about some bugs. If you're a console player, you'll have to worry about this too. AI is kind of weird in this game. Sometimes they're just downright stupid, other times they get stuck and they kind of just sit there like absolute idiots, and you can kind of cheese your way through a fight, and that kind of is something that does take you out of the game. It is very unfortunate. This, of course, hopefully will be resolved through patches that come out post-launch, but when it comes to the actual launch of the game, the AI is very finicky, so that's for you console people. And for PC players, pay very close attention to performance metrics with this game, because this is not a very well-performing game on PC. Luckily, although it didn't perform awesome, it still did not crash at all when I was playing the game the entire way through. I had no mid-game crashes, period. I did have a blocker though, or a soft lock in the game. I went up a ladder, the game glitched out, and my character got stuck in midair, and there's nothing I could have done but reload a checkpoint, and I had to redo a boss battle, so I lost about 10 minutes. But overall, that is the worst thing that happened to me in my entire playthrough, so I am very happy that the game did not crash. The game was completely playable, let me just put that out there. I have a very good PC, it was completely playable beginning to end, and it ran pretty smoothly at 60 FPS, but it was kind of weird to see that I barely got that at max settings, and I had to turn on DLSS to achieve that, so there's definitely some optimization that needs to be done there. Overall, going back to the package of the game itself that I just spent a while pretty much praising, the game is worth the price. It is worth full price. It is a game that horror fans will love and talk about the story in the future, and it is a universe that is worth revisiting. Bloober, you finally have your own game universe. This thing oozes personality. Congratulations, you are now a player in the horror genre. When the medium originally came out, you guys did not have me at all. I was not a fan of the medium. I was very worried going into Silent Hill 2. Thankfully, I was wrong, and I am happy that I was wrong. But now it seems like your dreams are coming true as a studio. Congratulations, you are in the big leagues now. You are no longer a studio that some people can look at and go, well, they just remake games. I don't know if they can make their own game. I wasn't a fan of the medium. You guys now have it. You guys have proven that you can remake an old survival horror game with Silent Hill and do it well, and you also have proven that you are able to make your own original game and do it competently. So hats off to you guys. With all of my reviews, I do not give scores in videos. Sometimes if you see me tweeting about it, like I have a Twitter list where I make like a log of games that I've played throughout the year, so I'll put like a score there because it's a small readable format. But this is a 17.5-minute video, almost going to 18 minutes, assuming I don't add any extra edits into this video right now. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. Based on the things that I have said, it is completely up to you if you would like to purchase this game or not. At the end of the day, me giving it a numerical score is not going to matter. I recommend the game. That's all that matters. I recommend the game to you. So that's it. With that being said, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you guys haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one, and I'll be hopping in a New Game Plus for sure.